Welcome to the Purple Patch Podcast, Sales Edge, with me, Lucy Lee.
And me, Danielle Dacuna Howard.
Where today we're going to be discussing multi-threading and how to multi-thread into new accounts and existing ones. Hey!
Hey, Lucy. How the devil are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, we're polar opposite seasons. You're in your shorts and t-shirt, and I'm in the winter. But other than that, it's pretty good.
It's hardly middle of winter, though, is it, in Australia? I mean, it's not really a winter.
Lindsay bought Nala a coat because, shout out to all the dog parents out there. Some person the other day, we were getting coffee, and Lindsay got dog shamed. They said, "Oh, do you not think it's a bit cold to have her out without a coat?" Are you all right? That's our doctor's aside, isn't it?
You do realise they're born with a fur coat on.
Actually.
Yeah,
no, it won't last in the wild at the best of times, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, it was cute. He sent me a picture. It was very cute. Very cute. In fact, we should show the picture next time, for sure.
Yeah, put it up on a little thumbnail. Anyway, we are talking about one of our favourite topics today, aren't we? So what are we discussing, DDH?
Today, we are discussing multi-threading.
We like multi-threading. It's a topic which I've been talking to a lot of people that I'm coaching right now about for the last couple of weeks. It's been coming up a lot, and it's very much top of mind in 2024, much more than it was a few years ago, because every penny is being scrutinized. So I feel like multi-threading is a really important topic for us to go down the rabbit hole of, discuss, give tips and tricks, and give our experiences of.
I like it. So you mentioned there it's coming up in your coaching practice. So yeah, I suppose what are the challenges with multi-threading? What are some of our field sales reps, account executives, whatever you want to call them? How's it come up in conversation?
I think they are finding it really hard because they can't get deals past solution trial. Shock horror. Everything's getting really stuck in that step. And when you go down to the root cause of it, it's usually they haven't got enough stable, they haven't multi-threaded well enough, they haven't done better, good enough discovery at the top end of the funnel. They don't really understand the persona that's speaking to. And it all roots back to that. But I had a really good question when we started talking about what's going to be this episode. The reason I thought it was a good one is I got the question asked back on me, and this person said to me, "But Lucy, do you not think it's a bit odd that if I'm in the middle of a sales process, I just start now adding random people within the business and start chatting to them?" It's like, that is actually a really good thought. I was like, kind of makes sense. And so when we started talking about it, we thought there's a really good conversation here to have. Shall I kick us off with what even the definition is? Because if you're quite new to sales, kick off with definition, because there's a lot of jargon as well.
Go for it. What is the definition of multi-threading, Lucy Lee?
So, multi-threading refers to the concept of developing relationships with multiple decision makers on the purchasing side. In other words, multi-threaded sales are business deals that have more than one stakeholder engaged in a sales process. We're going to help you with that today. To kick off, I found some really good stats. Everyone who knows me already know Lila. This is how important this topic is. If you are only selling to one stakeholder in your opportunity, you are only giving yourself a 30% chance of win rate. But if you go for 3 or more people involved in your opportunity, guess how much it goes up to by?
Another 20%.
50%. That's huge.
I was right. I didn't even know that. Hey, people, I did not even know that. That was my guess. Right. Okay. So single-threaded, 30%.
Versus multi-threaded. Yeah.
Multi-threaded, 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how much effort I'd rather be putting in.
Exactly. And then we go on about all these different sales techniques, and actually sometimes it's just do better at what you're doing. I feel like this is one of those.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those.
So I think when we started talking about it, we were discussing, we both worked in tech, and almost polar opposites in regards to business size, in regards to the target audience. So I was working with more SMB mid-market, you were working with more that enterprise side of things. Mm-hmm. How did you go about either enabling or training or helping sell from an enterprise perspective first?
Yep. Okay. So again, company size and opportunity size does also play into this too, as we know, right? So yes, there will be more stakeholders in a GB, enterprise, strategic, key accounts. There absolutely will be. However, it might not be one deal. So depending on the size of the business, it could be a land and expand model where we're simply trying to get in the door, trying to get a footprint, and then we're going to use the success of that footprint and then sell into other parts of the business. So when you look at it from that perspective, it still could be quite a small deal with a smaller number of stakeholders, but in a larger account where the opportunity is bigger. Yeah, so I think size of account, size of opportunity will absolutely change some of these numbers. But what doesn't change is you have to be talking to more than one person.
Exactly.
I think the latest statistics were, gosh, these are from ages ago, but I believe LinkedIn used to share that, now involved in any kind of purchase would be 6+ decision makers is in any form of deal. And again, they can be different types of involvement in a deal, whether they are the decision maker, whether they are a test user, whether they are an influencer, and again, depending on what methodology people use internally. So if I think about it from a selling perspective, obviously, if I cast my mind back to all of my sales roles, yes, like I always wanted to ensure that I was speaking to more than one person. That still is true today because I'm still selling myself and my business, and we still engage in opportunities. And again, I can see it myself when there's one person that comes to us that has been assigned, I'm exploring this, I'm researching this on behalf of my blah. I know that I need to meet whoever is doing the research. The person that they're doing the research for is actually the person that we need to meet. And again, level of effort comes into that as well. If I'm single threaded, if I'm not getting exposure to the rest of the business, I'm actually inclined to put less effort into the opportunity. So did that answer your question? I'm not sure
Yeah,
that answered your question.
that really answered the question. And it roots down to, like, we should be multi-threading. Like, we multi-thread most of our decisions in our personal life anyway, without realizing it. You'll be like, what do you think of this area? Do you think we should move here? What do you think of this for a holiday this year? Like, you're constantly multi-threading in life and just don't realize they're doing it. So I think that's, well, you're already doing this skill. You probably just need to do it before. I think from an S&B perspective, it's almost that imposter syndrome of that BDI, SDR hat, where they're going in low, going in too low. They're going in with like a manager level or even potentially just champions a lot of the time, whereas they still need to be multi-threading throughout all of them. And when we started like Purple Patch V2 last year, we were like, right, let's not like go straight out the gun here. Let's research. And we spoke to a lot of managers across Australia and EMEA and asked them what their biggest challenges were. And one of the things that kept coming up were, we spoke to a JPAC director and he was being asked to sign off on so many opportunities for the business. Actually, he had no idea about what was actually happening on the floor. So he was relying on his first line manager to often make that decision because they were managing the people doing the job and using the tool, and they were then reporting back up. So it's not like these people aren't important. They're very important. It's just you've got to be able to use all angles of it, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so if I think about, and correct me if I'm wrong, so this is my understanding from what's been coming out from your coaching practice is, I'm getting stuck with one person in a buying cycle. Once I'm already engaged with that person and have had interactions, I'm then finding it very, very hard to multi-thread across the organization. Okay. So if I think about that particular problem in isolation, there's two types of sales opportunity. One was self-generated. One was your SDR going out, like cold calling, basically prospecting into the account, and you've managed to get the meeting with the right person or whoever through your activity. The other is that it was inbound, right? So it came
Yeah.
through marketing generated, it came through partner generated. So we've got two very, very different players here, and therefore two very different ways of handling the multi-threading challenge. Because yes, if you start going down a path with one particular person, I'll agree, it's very hard to then pull back and to go, actually, can I speak to that person? Can I speak to that person? And this is where often the targets that hover over our heads actually then the pressure of the target, so be that making a certain number of calls a day, sending a certain number of emails, sending a certain number of in-mails, asking for a certain amount of referrals, whatever those are, the pressure of the activity actually doesn't help the strategy behind what we're doing. Okay. So for instance, if it's an inbound lead, we know that there's something there. We know that they have approached us because they've already highlighted some form of need within their business. And therefore, the person that has come to us, yes, is part of that. They may be the person that's been sent to go out and do the initial research. They may be the decision maker. They may be the champion because they're the ones that have highlighted this big, hairy challenge within the business and have been tasked with going and exploring it further. The outbound version is actually, if we pull back a little bit and rather than just going, oh gosh, I've got 60 calls to make today and that's my buyer persona right there, I'm just going to pick the phone up to them and set up that meeting. If you pull back, if you are lucky enough to have an SDR as well, you should be strategizing around these accounts. You should be looking at who's who in the zoo. You should be mapping out which buyer personas, what their role might be if you were to get into a situation with them. And your target should be not to just get one meeting. Your target should be to get multiple meetings, ideally around the same time. You know why? Because then when somebody says, I don't want you talking to them, you go, oh, I'm really, I've already engaged in conversations with them and they've already shown an interest. Actually, what I need to do is get you this group together. The problem is when we get that one meeting with that one person and we go too far down the line to then go back and then re-engage other people. And as you just rightly said, we used to call it groundswell. We used to call it groundswell. And the purpose of groundswell in any account is you want to hear the voice of other people so that you can bring those voices to the table in the sales cycle. So I want to speak to the frontline manager to understand the problems that they face so that verbatim I can play back those challenges to the decision makers, et cetera, et cetera. So you should be strategizing around who do I need to speak to? Why do I need to speak to them? And what are they going to contribute to this deal? Sorry, I went on a little bit there. But
no, I agree. And that's where I think the part, if you're lucky enough to have an SDR BDR, that's where the partnership comes in. Like you can let the AE go in at higher C-suite level if you want. You go in at lower levels, SDR BDR. But you've got to also stop trying to push people into sales processes in your Salesforce or HubSpot stage, essentially. And it's more around understanding, I think, from a multi-threading perspective, like where they're up to in that journey. Because if it's awareness, then you should be nurturing them. And you should be nurturing, like you just said, groundswelling that account with campaigns, events. There's so much more face-to-face now in Sydney. Like there really couldn't be a better opportunity to start that again. So it's like awareness and consideration and their decision. So by the way that they speak to you and the language that they use and the intent that they have, you should then be dictating how many people are you involving in this process. Because if it's nurture, get as many as you can, because you're doing is educating. All you're doing is adding value. You're not selling anything at that point. They're not actually interested in buying it. But when they get to that point, like you said, they're going, do you remember Lucy? Yeah, we need to pull them up in the process. They were bloody great. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest things.
absolutely.
We wanted to. And we also, I think when we were talking about this, we always tell some stories, and I had a really good one.
So please share. Please share. We love stories.
It's probably a non-compete or something, isn't there? There was a huge deal. It was a huge deal, and it was really, really late stage. And this business had swamped the account. They'd done what some businesses do, and they honestly pulled in directors from the business into this deal to go meet the other directors, like la-di-da, VP meets VP. They got all in, they'd taken them out for dinners, and it's gone on for 6 months. And then I get pulled into this meeting, and I'm an enigma at that point, and they say to me, we need to do a review on a close-source deal. And I'm like, okay. So we have a look at it, we go through it. And the reason that they lost this deal was because they hadn't involved the developers, because they hadn't thought about the integration. They'd involved everybody else, even the CFO. Everyone was on board. Everyone was ready to sign off. And then the developers in the back of the room were like, I don't want to do this because I don't want to integrate it. And no one thought about it. No one had that persona mapped out. I was just dying. I was like, how have we left this on the table? And the funniest part of it all, I was really early in this company at that point. So I'm like sitting there translating all the jargon on ChatGPT. I'm like, why would this business lose this deal to this company? And the first thing that pops up was developer. The integration and developer docs. And I was like, wow. I got there in 30 seconds, and that deal had been going on months. It's like the power of just the person that you don't think matters often does. And just missing out the implementation was huge.
And implement it. Oh my gosh. God, that could be a whole other podcast, but implementation is key now. Like, you think about over the past, due to the growth of SaaS, due to the growth of technology usage and utilization within organizations, the tech stack has ballooned
We've got
massively.
a term for that in SaaS now. Tech debt. We have too much tech debt.
We've got a lot of tech debt. And also, though, we have a heck of a lot of historic bad implementations that many people have experienced now in their careers, be that in any form of ops role, in any form of internal technology role, IT role. I think people are very, very, very skeptical now. No longer can you walk into a room and go, oh yeah, it's just a simple API integration. It just doesn't work. People have had really bad experiences with implementation, lack of support, lack of rollout capability, lack of project management, the fact that internal resource has not been scoped properly to support, and continued resource to maintain the technologies, their new features, etc., etc. So yeah, if you miss an implementation in any form of deal, like, who are the people that are going to be working with this day in, day out? Who are the people going to be implementing and rolling this out? If they're not involved in your sales process, your risk is incredibly high. I would say it wouldn't go through. Absolutely.
I agree.
So again, another example, if I pull that back to multi-threading, another example of looking at the deal more holistically. All we focus on in sales is who's the decision maker, who's the champion, who's going to get this deal over the line. Yes, we're always going to need to do that. The people that can stop it are the ones that have to use it, work with it, integrate it. So they should be part of your plan.
I agree. And also, it doesn't just apply to AEs, but also applies to CSNs, because if you're retaining accounts, multi-threading doesn't stop. It's not like, cool, thank you, I've got the account, I'll just go retaining it now. Like, your main point of contact is leaving. You've got to have multi-threaded that account to make sure you're going to be able to retain your potentially biggest customer. And I think we're using LinkedIn a lot today. They're just a good group of people. They dropped a stat earlier this year when I was in a meeting with them, and it was 53% of C-suite managers, like SE, CEO, I said again, 53% of C-suite people leave their roles in January. So
very common.
Yeah, really common. So when you come back after your summer break from Australia, all of your stakeholders have changed, and if you haven't multi-threaded or nurtured that account or not touched it, and you've been entirely reactive, then you're up the shitter a little bit, because if no one understands what you're actually using, then they're going first to get rid of. First in, first out. Last in, first out. So,
and isn't it fascinating that the directive from most organizations is C-suite, 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 sell to the C-suite, meeting with the C-suite? Yes, like, they are super important as final decision makers, for sure. However, the decision, as you when you open this, the decision doesn't always 100% sit with them. You can get deals over the line. I've got deals over the line without the C-suite being involved, but I've just done a very, very good job of driving the pain through that buying circle so that they can push up a very, very valid business case, etc. So, yeah,
I agree.
it's very interesting.
So if we go to tips and how-tos, like what are we giving the guys to take away? I think first and foremost, of course, it's your plan, attack, research. You should know this by now. If you've got an account size over 200, there is actually now no reason to leave LinkedIn Sales Navigator because you've got account IQ. So it just gives you everything, the buyer story, the landscape, the funding they've had, everything you can imagine. So I think that's really important. And the second one that I started doing more recently is advising the AEs to actually train the trainer with the person that they're going to be presenting to. So if the line manager is presenting to the C-suite and you can't get in that meeting for whatever reason, you need to know what they're saying. So to say, like a lot of the time I work with businesses, I often run this process. It tends to work really effectively. And that's DDH, you train me, you tell me what you're going to go into that meeting and say, and I can help you. I can tweak what we need to tweak and make sure that business proposal is exactly where it needs to be if I can't get in that room for any reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Multi-thread that way.
Yep, I think that is, so that's more after the fact, right? That's more like I've gone down this journey with this particular person. I'm a little bit locked out of exposure. Yeah. Yes, yeah.
All these reps are just keeping deals in pipelines. Like I've never seen anything like it. Pipeline hygiene at the moment is disgusting across so many people, and it's because a few different things. Businesses haven't carved out accounts, so they're scared, so they're just holding accounts in their name. They don't really understand qualifying out properly, or they're known as saying yes, happy years. Everyone's saying yes, but they can't get in front of that final couple of stakeholders that they need to, and they don't know how to multi-thread. So the last ditch attempt is right. You need to get them to train, like present to me, and then present up.
Yeah, I think there's I if I was to give some recommendations, it would be these three things. It would be, so again, depending on the number of accounts that you have, as Lucy said, it can feel overwhelming. You've got these targets over your head, you've got these activity targets over your head probably as well. I think you can get quite overwhelmed by what's thrown at you in terms of what you need to be doing to prove the work that you're doing. Quota attainment plans, territory plans, account plans, opportunity plans. As much as they are admin, right? I get it. Like they are admin, they will actually help to give you clarity. So even if you did a bit of a blank slate, you might be midway through the year, you might be midway through your first quarter. It doesn't matter. You can always level set, always level set. So I would say to you, carve out the time with your SDR, with your BDR, to look at your account, you book, like go into it. Who else are they signed up with? Like you can easily start to score them, right? Warm, hot, warm, cold, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, whatever methodology you want to use. Go through your accounts, get rid of the stuff where you're like, you know what, I know they're signed up to this other provider for the next 3 years. I know there's no way of breaking that contract right now. Yes, I can just put a call into them, stay front of mind, put them on that nurture list, etc. So once you've done that and you've got this kind of more solid list of like, these are my A's, these are my B's, the A's should be taking up the majority of your time. And that is where I would sit down with my SDR, BDR and go, right, I'm going to approach these people. You're going to approach these people. What do we want from them? Some are going to be education and information. Some are going to be, I want a meeting. I want to pitch to them. I want to bring them into the sales process. So that's what I'd be doing for like just level set, just kind of clear the decks, take a day, take 2 days, do that pragmatic research. As you said, there's tools like Sales Navigator, which will provide you with great information right there.
All in front of you.
And then so that's kind of new, right? That's new business. Then if we move our attention to what do I currently have in my pipeline right now, as you said, like honesty is the best policy, and you need to be honest with yourself. If you go through all of your accounts and look at what's currently in play and look at how be really honest with yourself and go look at every single opportunity. Am I single-threaded? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I single-threaded? No. If I'm not single-threaded, how many people do I have in this process? If it's 2, I'd be worried. I'd be trying to get to 3. If it's 3, I'd be trying to get to 4. So start making a strategy to protect the deals that you currently have. Ask for, I don't know why we're so scared of asking whoever your primary contact is. Look, in my experience, okay, when it's just me and you out there trying to get this across the line, it doesn't work. Because my job here is to help you to sell this internally. And there are other people that are going to be part of that process. Can we sit down together and map out who those people are and figure out a strategy of how we can start to bring them into this, educate them, introduce them to it together? Who's going to say no to that?
No. And that's, what is it? If you got, it's like that thing, if you're a kid, your parents always teach you don't talk to strangers. But if someone comes to ask you for help, you'll always help. So it's like always aligned together for like you're actually trying to help out. Can you help me? I have to do that today for my citizenship thing. I had talking to the doctor and going, excuse me, I haven't got an appointment, but please can you help me? They did.
Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice. Multi-threaded. So yeah, I think there's there's the kind of outbound prospecting. You can really protect yourself quite early on by doing your multi-threading up front. If you've got deals in play where you feel very single-threaded, start making a strategy to change that right now, because then you're going to be protecting. And if you base it on those figures that you shared at the beginning, you are going to protect 20% of your pipeline by simply adding 1 to 2 people into your sales process, into your opportunities. The other thing is, again, like some great tools. In fact, we're going to do some mini how-tos on YouTube to support this one. But the account, we are. Because we are. I was showing you the other day, like the account mapping capability in LinkedIn Sales Navigator now.
Yeah.
Incredible, really visual. You can drag people around. Yeah. You can link up who the report to. Then you can just take a screen. And is it in Salesforce now? Is it in Salesforce now?
I did it this week. Played on it in Mo's. You've got it is premium. You can literally press sync. It's so easy.
Great. Okay, so that's now in the iframe, in the integration with LinkedIn and Salesforce. That's even better. Because again, when your manager comes to you and says, hey, is this coming in on this date? You have a call to make. And if you cannot, justify that you're speaking to enough people, that's on you if you're going to call it. But it's visual, and you can show your manager. You say, I've met with them, I'm a little bit worried about them. I've got strategy with Jess, my SDR. We're working on getting a meeting with this person. So map it out, use the technology that's at your disposal, but ask your champion. They are not as protective as you think.
Yeah, correct.
If they believe in your tool, if they believe in your solution, your service, your product, they want to be successful. Who sells more of what you sell? You or them? You. So you absolutely have the right to say to them, I'm really worried because based on my experience, we don't get these deals across the line when it's just me and you.
Yeah.
So
I like that frame. That's a great frame.
Grab your confidence, speak to them. That would be my advice for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
I like that. So get multi-threading. Let us know. Have we had any WhatsApps through?
We haven't. No.
Right.
It's
Come
very
on, guys.
annoying. You're all being, and we can see you listening. I'm looking at the stats of our podcast, and I can see that you are all listening. And
have we stopped
including
our mums?
Oh, my mum, as if my mum doesn't even know what Spotify is. My mum doesn't know what a podcast is. She's definitely not my mum, that's for sure.
My mum went to me the other day, have you built some pipe? I was like, you don't even know what that is, do you?
Your mum is adorable.
She
Hi,
tries.
Sarah. Hi, Sarah, if you're listening. Yeah, so we know you're listening. Thank you so much for your support. We were featured on a lovely post as well this week, as a podcast to dial into and listen to for salespeople. So yeah, we want to know. Like, please feel free. Messages on WhatsApp, voice notes on WhatsApp. If there's a topic that you want to hear, if you have a challenge, I would love to hear. I have this deal. This is what's going on. Help. We could be your agony ants. Right? We can do this.
We're desperate to be the agony ants. Just come on.
We do. We really do.
Yeah.
So hopefully you've enjoyed today's multi-threading chat. I have. It's been great.
It's been great fun. It's just a really good topic.
It's a great
Really
topic, and
enjoy
I love that we're bringing things that are top of mind and front of mind for people as well. So that's it from us, folks, on multi-threading. And yeah, I'm going to do some little how-tos and put them on YouTube for you this week. So we'll link it into the podcast as well.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.